You never know what you'll encounter out on the water. Dolphins, hammerheads, and everything in between is fair game. And that's exactly what I experienced today. What's going on, guys? I am back down here in the Florida Keys at the world famous Robbie's Marina here in Isla Mirada, and the goal for today's adventure is to get in the water with hammerhead sharks. So I have only been in the water with hammerheads on 3 separate occasions, twice in the Bahamas and once down here in the Keys last year. And ever since last year's adventure, I've been dying to get back down here to try to get an even better encounter with these hammerheads and maybe have some other shark species show up. Now last year the weather was not really on our side, however today it's absolutely phenomenal. We're expecting about 1 foot seas, which is incredibly calm. So the weather's on our side. Hopefully the shark action is too. Something else we didn't have last year is this crate right here. This is going to work as a bait box. It's going to stay underneath the boat at all times to hopefully draw the sharks in closer. And of course, today's adventure is courtesy of Captain Brian. So tell us about the spot we're heading out to today.
Well, we're going to go to a wreck in a couple hundred feet of water. It's a real big steel-hulled ship, and it holds a ton of life, including, and hopefully today, some hammerhead sharks. We could also see blacktips, lemon sharks, bulls. You just never know. Kind of everything lives there, but we'll get out there and get anchored right on top of it or just up current of it, put some chum in the water, and see who wants to come and hang out with us.
Awesome, sounds good. Hopefully the sharks are on our side today, so let's head on out. On our way out, we planned on making a quick stop at the famous Alligator Reef Lighthouse to get some B-roll shots. But as soon as we got close, Brian stopped the boat because he noticed a big pod of dolphins surrounding us. I took this as the perfect opportunity to get some drone shots. I've never been able to film wild dolphins before. It's something that's always been on my bucket list, and it made this so exciting. I spent about 5 minutes filming these bottlenose dolphins from the air when we quickly realized this pod was staying right around our boat. Typically, wild dolphins don't like to hang around for very long, so I took this as an opportunity to hop in the water with them. We threw a tagline off the back of the boat for me to hold on to, because otherwise there is no way I can keep up with this pod. Once Brian got us into position and gave me the go, I hopped into the water, where I immediately saw and heard the pod of dolphins. There were so many of them, and take a listen. It's amazing how loud they are underwater. After about a minute, they swam off into the distance. And after going back to the boat and hopping in a few more times with no luck, my 4th jump into the water gave me the best encounter. Here I was, face to face with a huge pod of wild dolphins. This is an encounter everybody dreams of having, and it's something I won't soon forget. Holy, that was insane. That's one of the best animal encounters of my entire lifetime. Getting in the water with dolphins is something I've never done before. It's something that everybody wants to do. It's always on a diver's bucket list, and I got to accomplish that here today. The encounter didn't last for too long, which, you know, is pretty expected with dolphins because they're so fast. But now we're heading off to the wreck to hopefully get in the water with some sharks. Okay, so here we are at the spot in a little bit over 200 feet of water. Brian, tell us a little bit more about this wreck.
Okay, so we're on a wreck that, as fishermen, we call the 220 wreck. We're not very inventive when it comes to our naming, but the real name of the boat was the Queen of Nassau when it sank. Prior to being the Queen of Nassau, it was actually a Canadian gunship named the CHMS Canada. It was commissioned in 1906 and actually went down in 1926, so it only did about 20 years of service. When it went down, it had actually been bought by a cruise line, and it was doing cruises from Nassau, Bahamas over to Miami and back, but the cruise line was failing financially. Nobody really knows why it sunk right here. Real easy to swim to shore or take a small boat to shore, but it in financial peril, it sank under mysterious circumstances on, I believe it was July 2nd, 1926.
And since it is over 200 feet, how hard is it to draw the sharks all the way up to the boat?
Well, that can be the hard part, especially hammerheads. The hammerheads are super wary. contrary to popular belief.
Right.
Everybody says hammerheads are the most dangerous predator in the ocean and they eat people. It's really not true. They actually want nothing to do with people. In fact, if we do get them chummed up to the surface, when we slide in the water to swim with them, there's a good chance that they're just going to fade down to the bottom and we're never going to see them because they want nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a lot of food, a lot of time. Hopefully no other boats come, especially with big loud diesel engines that are rattling around and scaring everything. And if we can sit here and play for an hour or two, there's a good chance we can get them up and hopefully be able to get some decent video and God willing even be able to get in and swim with them and have them stay with us.
Yeah, I mean, I know firsthand, I've been in the water with hammerheads 3 times now. They can be pretty skittish, so hopefully the luck is on our side today and we can get up close. We ended up dropping a GoPro down with the bait to see how the shark action is above the wreck. And man, there were sharks everywhere. You can see through the fish finder, that's the bait going down, and this huge clunk right here is probably a huge school of hammerheads coming in to check it out. I quickly hopped into the water so I wouldn't miss any possible shark action. For the first few minutes, it was really quiet at the surface. Nothing but the deep blue abyss to look into. But since I was in a shark hotspot, I was continuously looking around for marine life. Eventually, Brian started dropping this fish carcass down to the bottom and all the way back up to try to get the sharks to chase. And it was only on his second try that he was successful. Out of the blue came a singular scalloped hammerhead shark chasing the bait. And it wasn't long before one shark turned into 2, which then turned into 3, and eventually way more than I could count. In this shot right here, I counted 32 hammerheads. That's right, 32. This is insane. I can't believe I was surrounded by 32 hammerheads at one time. Seeing this phenomenon in person is just mind-blowing. Now, one cool part was that this female was straying away from the group and coming all the way up to the surface, which is a little unusual for hammerheads to do, but eventually the whole school seemed to get more comfortable around me, and this is where I had some really close passes. These scalloped hammerhead schools are just so fascinating. Scientists aren't completely sure why they group together during certain parts of the year, then become mostly solitary animals during the rest. One thing to note is that these schools are almost always female, which can be seen here. I don't recall seeing a single male hammerhead in this entire school. So do these schools have to do with mating, protection from larger predators during their migration, or are they just highly social animals? We're not sure exactly what the reason is, which makes that even more fascinating. However, like we were preaching before, hammerheads are pretty skittish and shy sharks. And after 10 minutes or so checking me and the bait out, they disappeared back into the deep blue and out of sight. I stayed in the water for a while afterwards to see if we could draw them back up, but these sharks are highly intelligent, and they know that coming up to the surface hasn't proven to give them any food, so they were sticking around 150 feet of water. After maybe another hour, I got out and we started to make our way back to shore. However, we would be coming out again in just a few days to see what kind of shark action we could find. Alright, here we go, day 2.
And so we were off again, and although we didn't run into any dolphins on the way out, the shark action was immediate once we got to the site. We had this little silky shark hanging right around the boat, and the fish finder showed us that the hammerheads were right beneath us, so I decided it was time to hop into the water. This silky shark was incredibly curious and seemingly agitated. This was present right off the bat. Small sharks typically aren't this curious around larger animals like myself, but this shark might not have had a meal in a while, making her a lot more prone to approach potential food sources. After only a few minutes, she got so close she started purposefully bumping into my cameras. The shots came out really good, and since I had my big camera right in front of me, I was never nervous around her. This is about average size for silky sharks. They inhabit warm coastal waters and love to hang out around big drop-offs in the ocean floor, just like this spot right here. A shark of this size can be prey though for larger sharks like hammerheads and tigers, so this girl still needs to be on the lookout in the open ocean. And in typical shark behavior, she started following me every time I turned away and swam. This is instinctual for the shark, and it's something I saw many times on this dive. But after spending about an hour with this shark, it was clear that the hammerheads were not interested in what we had to offer. So I got out of the water and we made our way back to the marina. I would have loved to stay longer to try to get some hammerhead action, but I had an afternoon dive scheduled and we had already pushed our time limit. This is one of the most unique adventures in the world. It's so incredibly rare to see schools of hammerheads like this, and besides for remote areas like Cocos Island in the Indo-Pacific, it's nearly impossible. Getting to swim with dolphins and a silky shark for the first time as well was also incredible, and all of this footage makes into one of my favorite adventures yet on this channel. Stay tuned to watch me dive with stingrays, catch wildlife in the Florida Everglades, and film some more shark action.